Good Tuesday morning, guys. Jerry Miller, welcome to Real Talk. This is an insider's guide to real estate life and the pursuit of happiness, presented by the Yes Team Realtors. We have a good show lined up. Little Batman and Robin on a Tuesday with Alfred sitting shotgun. Judah Wickhauer, why don't we go to the studio camera and then welcome Keith Smith to the broadcast. My friend, good morning.
Good morning. Apologize for the late start, everybody, but my Batman utility belt had some technology problems, so
no problem.
How
are you?
Man, you know, if I was doing any better, it'd be illegal. Yeah, beautiful day so far. It looks like we're going to get some rain today, and I'm just excited about kind of picking up where we left off at Friday's show, because I had to scoot out and chair a regional housing partnership meeting. Which,
yeah, how did that go?
You know, as we talked yesterday, who knew? I got quoted in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Right, and it wasn't the obituary or an arrest record.
That means that's good.
Yeah, it was good. What is it? Every day you wake up and your name's not in the obituary, you're doing a good job. But yeah, so it was exciting. You know, we've been working on this, the Regional Housing Partnership and the commission for 3 years at least, and we're excited about it. Basically, we're creating an MLS system for affordable housing.
That's what it says. Give us some more insight.
Yeah, so the Regional Housing Partnership, for those who don't know, it's a part of the Planning District Commission, which is a regional body. And what we do at this regional body is we do regional planning and stuff like that. So what this Regional Housing Partnership is built on, what I call the 4 pillars of a healthy housing system or affordable housing, however you wish to describe it. And what we've been able to do, and it's never been done before, is we bring these 4 pillars together. And these 4 pillars are the public sector. So these are all the local governments. So we have representatives from all the 6 jurisdictions that comprise of our region. Nonprofits. So we have the Land Trust there. We have Piedmont Housing there. We have Habitat for Humanity there, so forth and so on. Then we have the for-profits, right? Folks like Chris Henry, Dairy Market folks, a bunch of different other private sector folks on it. And actually, we kind of looped UVA into that private sector column, even though they're technically not. They're not a government, but they're not a nonprofit, and they're not a private sector. But we have second and third in charge at UVA engaged in the conversation, which took me about 10 years to get to happen. Wow. I was on the commission. Yeah, it's a huge thing to have UVA at the table. And then most importantly, the people that we serve, right? The actual tenants, the actual buyers that comprises of this board. So it's basically 4 equal parts on it. So it's great. We have really open discussions. The private sector guys and gals are talking to the policymakers and how they can get some red tape turned into green tape. You know, there's all kinds of open discussions, and when you chair a meeting like that, and either the private sector says, "Geez, I didn't really understand the struggles that the public sector has to go through the approval process," and vice versa. Yeah, it's a little eye-opening that they actually are starting to talk to one another. And then I kind of made the motion 3 years. Made the motion 3 years to create this, and my goal at that time was just to have this conversation, to have these people at a table. And then we came up with this idea of creating this hub or this portal or this MLS system for affordable housing, because when you talk to folks like Chris Henry and the affordable housing nonprofits, and they just don't know where to go to reach the buyer or the tenant. And conversely, the buyer and the tenant doesn't know where to go. And we learned this when we did, Greg Slater and I and the Land Trust did Nassau Street, and we put that on the market. Every single one of the buyers of that all gave up. They gave up. They just gave up looking, because they felt that dream of ownership was never available to them. And we're so glad every single one of them actually had a real estate agent on the other side. Wow. And because of our relationships, Greg and I's relationship with the Charlottesville Area Association of Realtors, and we were able to bring real estate agents along. And Greg may correct me if he's watching, but I believe all 4 were represented by a real estate agent, or, by the way, gave back their commissions to help the process along. So every one of them gave up until their realtor, their trusted advisor, this is a real estate show, right?
Right.
Their trusted advisor said, hey, Jerry, this is an opportunity for you. Don't give up. And it happened. We actually have on the land trust, I think like 40 people on a waiting list. We're trying to buy more property. And we talked about the merger that's coming with that.
Sure, sure. Let's talk about the website. When it could launch.
Yeah.
What we can expect.
Sure.
I mean, that's exciting. Are you first to market in the Commonwealth with something like this?
No.
This exists?
Yeah. So okay. Maybe the Commonwealth is a good question. I don't know that, but this was modeled after a DC model. So I think they, and I'm speaking a little bit out of school on this, but we use this DC model. The firm that we've hired actually created it for this DC organization, which is very similar to what we've created. Mm-hmm. In the partnership, it has different jurisdictions around DC, and it's basically a portal by which affordable housing tenants and buyers basically can meet. What is it? What is it? Tinder? We're creating a dating app.
Yeah, match, Tinder?
whatever it is.
Yeah.
With the actual producers of it, which would be folks like Piedmont Housing, and private developers such as Chris Henry and his team and other developers. So yeah, November is the release date. So we're hoping to get it. Everybody's feverishly working. And then, you have certain individuals on the board, maybe a chairman that walks in at the last minute and goes, why don't you do that and walk out? And then they all go, blah, 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 blah. Go away. You're not allowed in here anymore. So thank you to them, because that's what I do. And you've experienced this in what we do. I'll go blah, 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 and walk out and make sure that you understand what blah, blah, blah means.
I love it. I love it. So we got the first questions coming in.
Oh.
Keith Smith, how's the market looking?
Yeah, so we were actually going to have a conversation about pricing the house right and some 7 things or truths for sellers. But I don't have any data with me on it, but I had a conversation, and I'll leave real estate agents' names out of it, with several realtors. Kind of crazy. There was a story I just was told on the way in. Bondurant Farm out in Nelson County. High dollar, upper end stuff, $500,000 lots are having multiple offers on them. That's unheard of.
Yeah.
Unheard of. We have a mutual client, and we're starting to see offers come in that we haven't in a year and a half on upper end product. So I haven't really dug into the numbers, but it just feels like from a practitioner's perspective, the upper market kind of took a breather for a while. It just seemed that way. Now it's just on fire. In fuego? It's on fire.
Yeah.
I'm still worried about our bet, by the way. I really am.
Well, you got a lot of business on the books.
Nah, I don't know. I was having this conversation with Greg Slater earlier this week, and
how's Slater doing?
He's babbling, blah 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 blah. That means he's busy. Right.
I miss Greg Slater.
I love him, man. I miss him. I tried to talk him to come on the show.
I haven't seen him in a minute.
And he goes blah 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 blah. So I was okay, but he's busy as a one-armed paper hanger. I want to bring him in because I really want to. He's an expert in many things, but he's really good at new construction, particularly out in Crozet, and he's dialed into that market. So I want to bring him in. But yeah, so it's. My concern about our bet, frankly, is if the product goes away, right? Inventory. The only way I'm going to win that bet is that it has to go active.
Right. You just need inventory.
I need inventory.
Yeah. If you have inventory in the market, you're going to win the bet.
If we have inventory in the market,
you're going to win.
I'm pretty sure I'm good.
The only way I'm going to win this bet is
don't jinx.
If people are hesitant to put their house in the market.
Don't jinx.
Yeah. So, either way, if I lose, I win.
Yeah.
If you lose, you lose.
Yeah, could be.
Because it could be on the inventory side. Anyway, it's going to be close. We got a hungry market.
Yeah, and what was it? We had so on this show on this piece that we needed to jump away on this. I can speak English today. The thing I was chairman last Friday, we had Lisa Sturtevant on, who's a
love her,
excellent. She's the chief economist for Virginia Realtors, and so the basic way it went was the first half of it was our presentation. Second half was I did Jerry Miller.
The Q&A.
I did a Q&A. I managed the Q&A. So I saved my question for last, which is something you and I have been batting back and forth, is, will the election affect the market?
What'd she say?
No.
Really?
Yeah, pretty much along where I said. It really, at the end of the day, doesn't impact the market. You may get, and her and I were on the same page on that, you might get just a little bit of a dip in October and November, but I sure as hell ain't seeing it right now. But we're not in October yet, but it sure isn't looking or feeling that way. And generally, usually, it kind of takes a bit of a pause, and it really doesn't matter who's in the office. Then it shoots back up in January. This is COVID-19. It's a different world. But I'm not seeing any handwriting on the wall, and maybe if there's some real estate agents that want to chime in to see if they feel differently about it. But she was spot on as far as I'm concerned.
Ray Cadell and Johnny Ornalis just shared the show.
Cool.
Barbara is watching the program. Hello, Barb.
Hey, Barbara.
Lundgren. We love when you're watching the show. Welcome to the broadcast, your friends over at Nest.
Hey.
And welcome to the broadcast, your friends over at Real Estate 3.
There you go.
We'd like to thank Roy Wheeler Realty Company and Interstate Pest and Service Companies for being a part of the show.
Couldn't do it without them. As we often refer to Michael Guthrie as the man, the myth, the legend, and that is true. I don't know if he's going to post this, but he put a beard on when he was on vacation. So.
Michael, you got a beard.
Yeah, I don't know if he shaved it or not, but I saw it on Facebook a couple of days ago. That looked pretty good on him, actually.
I haven't seen Michael Guthrie in a minute.
Yeah, what's going on? I think it might be us.
I haven't seen him in person in a minute.
So, Interstate Pest Control,
Interstate Pest and Service Company.
Service Company. Just to give them a shout out to them, we use them. They're just great, and particularly we're going to talk a little bit about some pricing a house right and certain things about the 7 truths of putting a house on the market. Well, they're going to be part of that conversation because one of them is get your house ready, right? And one of them would be if not a renovation perspective, would be, hey, we usually recommend this. You might want to get your termite inspection done prior to listing, right? So if there's an issue, you fix it before you actually list it. So we'll talk a little bit about that.
So 7 tips for pricing your home. Why pricing your home right matters this fall. Keith Smith.
Yeah, so slide 1, if you don't mind. So that's not actually the tips. The tips are going to be a little bit later into it. But what I wanted to talk about, and we get this all the time from clients. Thank you. We get this all the time from clients. Let's face it. They watch the news, and Jude, if you can keep that up for a minute, I appreciate it. They watch the news, or they follow things, or they listen to their friends, and they may establish value based on that, not necessarily the facts of what's on the ground. In other words, what is actually buying and selling. So we actually used the diagram once before, but this is a slide I created that I thought was pretty.
It's very fall with its motif.
It's fall, man.
You did a very good job with that, distinguished gentleman.
So to be frank, plagiarism is a wonderful thing, right?
You're saying it was hard to design, and you just put your name and phone number and website on the bottom.
Not exactly.
Not exactly, Keith.
Maybe just a little bit.
My boy.
Just a little bit. No. Well, I changed some of the data a little bit and the numbers a little bit. So, this is the classic 2 circles where they intersect is where the actual.
I love these. The Venn diagram.
There you go. Where the actual market is. If you're under. You have a decreasing buying power. You're losing a little bit of value. And you deter the potential buyers from what they're thinking. So there's this magic number, right? If you're too low, that can hurt you. That's what that left-hand side of that chart is saying. On the other hand, if you're too high, it sits on the market, it deters people to even look at it because we're going to talk about this a little bit later, right? The new curb appeal is digital.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So people and buyers are super smart, And they kind of, from a digital perspective, have a better understanding than
millennials and younger. We've coined a phrase for that. It's the digital curbside of the home.
We're going to talk. I'd love to hear that because
we were like talking about this over beverages, over happy hour in the neighborhood, and one of the moms brought it up. It was like 4 or 5 couples. One of them is going through the process, and one of them just bought. And one mom said to the other mom, and then all the other moms went, "Oh yeah, yeah." And then once like 5 or 6 moms like that start doing it, that's when I start listening, because that's like a social behavior. That's a trend. And one of the moms says, "How's the digital curbside of the home?"
Wow.
And then the other mom's like, "Yeah, are the photos good? Does it have a video? Is it this, and that?"
Video is key.
Yeah, digital curbside is the term they used this past weekend. When I heard that, my ears literally perked up.
I got to write that down. Digital curbside.
How is the digital curbside of the home is what a group of moms were saying in our neighborhood. And then all the other moms immediately knew what that meant.
I like it.
Right?
More plagiarism.
So yeah, digital curbside.
I'm going to steal it. Digital curbside. I like that a lot. So it's important, right? We talk about this on the show all the time, and we're going to really talk about real estate today. Trusted advisors. There's a ton of good real estate agents and real estate firms, I'm sure, watching or out there in the space. You really, it's great to look at the digital curbside or look at all these apps and look at all these things to get a ballpark idea. But you really need to engage a trusted advisor. You really need to engage somebody that really understands the market. I mean, an app, I don't have my phone with me today, but an app or phone, we talk about this with my little brother all the time, right? He's a trim carpenter. I call him doctor, right? Makes more money than God. You can't put up trim with that phone.
Yeah.
Apps and all that kind of great stuff, and these 3 showings, digital showings, are all great tools, but it takes the skill set of somebody like Ray, a skill set of Greg Slade, a skill set of Yonna and I, right, to go ahead and spend the time and energy to do what we do and go through and dissect the numbers, because your house is different than Judah's house, even though we're across the street from one another, and they have different value structures to it. So what Zillow does and all these guys do, it's this mass appraisal system that they have. And I'm not smart enough to really understand how that stuff works, but I know when you can look at a Zestimate and then you look at the market data, they generally don't match. Good start. Right? Get a look at the pictures, get to understand it, but seek the trusted advisor. And what you want to do is you want to hit in that middle spot.
Right.
And it makes a difference. If you're overpriced, the market's going to know it. And then you got a problem, from my perspective, if the house is sitting, let's say, we didn't crunch the numbers, let's say the median days on market at a certain price point is, let's say, 2 weeks, just to pick a number. Right? And it's on the month for 30 days. What's the first thing Jerry Miller and Mrs. Miller are going to say?
Well, what's going down?
There you go.
Right?
There you go. So now you're defending it. The seller's agent is defending it, because the first question the buyers are just going to say, well, why haven't you sold it yet? We know because it's overpriced. But is there other reasons why it hasn't sold?
Quinn Beckham, welcome to the program from Keller Williams. Christopher Eagle, watching from Real Estate 3. Your colleague, Justine Montgomery, is she in Maine?
Vermont.
She's watching from Vermont. We have an agent watching in Richmond, and the Richmond agent has brought up the question we were just talking. Are you ready for the question from pre-production?
I got to use the bathroom.
Okay, I mean, so you predicted this would happen.
I know.
So Richmond town. Agent in Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah, sure.
Jerry, I love this program. We literally watch as much as possible from Richmond. We know it's different markets, but the same philosophies apply. Have you guys touched on this topic yet? Maybe you did on Friday, about the new white elephant in the room gaining some more muscle in Zillow. Do we want to go down this road, Smith?
So
you're the executive producer. You could say no.
So that's what all that research was at 4 o'clock this morning.
Okay, so you actually predicted this would happen. Why did you think this was going to happen? Because it was just top of the news cycle?
Oh, you're talking about today's beginning of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
You're talking with Zillow, we're talking here.
Yeah. So the long and short of it is, it's kind of like when on Friday when we brought up the governor and his wife catching COVID.
Yeah. You adapted on the fly.
Yeah, we're doing this on the fly.
Well, this one you kind of saw the tea leaves because you're a smart man.
I saw a little bit of tea leaves.
This was coming. Yeah.
A little bit of tea leaves. So 30 years of working in local politics from the outside in, I am doing my very best not to answer that question. Look, what we were saying earlier, and I truly believe this, and I truly mean this, Zillow will be a tool. Zillow will have some sort of impact on the market, but you can't.
Well, what is happening?
Yeah, okay.
Can you educate us?
Got it. So there's two things that basically happened 5 days ago.
Okay.
So Zillow opened up their own brokerages, but it's specifically for iBuyers and specifically in certain markets. So what's an iBuyer, right? An iBuyer is, you ever drive down the road and you see I buy houses for cash?
Yeah.
That's what I buy. That's what
you're talking about, those signs that are in the grass.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. I've never actually, I'm going to educate me. Does that actually happen?
Oh, yeah, sure, it happens.
That does happen.
There's people out there that's their business model.
Okay.
So this...
Kyle, who we both know is
Kyle
in
Miller.
that game.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Miller, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, he does many things, but, he does it very well, and it works out well for him. But so what Zillow has done, and I apologize, who's the Richmond agent's first name?
It is, hold on one second, I'm calling it up right
And anybody
here.
else can chime in. And
Eloise.
Eloise.
Yeah.
So Eloise, I'm going to let you.
I like that name.
Eloise, that's a pretty name.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you chime in and correct me if I'm wrong.
Please.
And the same with anybody else, just to correct me. Maybe, I said early in the thing, I was hoping for a two-way dialogue with the folks in cyber world, so I guess that's what we're doing here. So Zillow did two things 5 days ago, announced two things 5 days ago. One was very optical, very in your face, and this was in certain markets they're opening up, I think they're calling it Zillow Home or whatever it is. They opened up a brokerage, and it's specifically for these iBuyers. So again, signs. So what Zillow does with iBuying, it's basically the sign version. What they'll do is they'll come in through their algorithms or however the hell they do it, call up or send me over as one of their agents over to Mr. and Mrs. Miller's house, or however they're communicating it, and offer you basically below market for the house. Cash, close. Then they turn around and flip it. So they're not actually in the everyday brokerage world that all these agents and myself work in every day. So it's basically like I buy houses, but on a digital format. Where the tricky thing is, or where the thing that Eloise may be talking about, they used to reach out to Keith Smith with Realty and say, or we reach out with them as a premier agent, and they would use us to go look at it, assess it. We would get some sort of commission out of it, the brokerage would, and then it keeps on moving. What they've done now is excuse me, I'm choking on it. They hired me as a direct W-2 employee. So now I'm working for this brokerage as an employee. The second thing that they've done, and I don't know what this all impacts on it, but the second thing they have done.
What is your take, Eloise Amendola? What is your take in Richmond on this? Offer some perspective. Other agents watching, you wanted this. Offer some perspective.
So where the iBuyers work, they work in markets that are like Arizona, like Phoenix, where there's a lot of similar houses and the price points are a little bit more established, and based on all the reading I've done on that. The second thing that they've done is they've migrated away from multiple, and this is something that I don't think anybody's talking about, multiple agreements, data sharing agreements with different MLSs around or brokerages around the country. They are now using, or will be using, an IDX feed. So if you go onto my website.
Yes, I can call that up. I know IDX well. I will call this up.
Yeah, so for those who don't know what IDX is the Internet Data Exchange or something like that.
And from our terminology, it's essentially like an RSS. And Judah, correct me if I'm wrong. And this RSS funnels essentially the MLS to individually branded websites. Like here you see, if you go to the studio camera, you see the Yes Team Realtors. It's a fabulous website, Vincent Zorn. Fabulous, fabulous website. And you go scroll down. Am I going to our listings?
Just search listings.
Okay, search listings? Okay, so I'm clicking search listings on the Yes Team Realtors. There you see the subdomain that had IDX broker in it. See it up there?
Yep.
And then I scroll down. This integration is the IDX.
Correct. So that directly connects into our MLS system, right? So now what Zillow is now doing is that very thing, or attempting to do that very thing, or that's how it's restructuring it. So the bad side that some agents might think, you know, and some folks will say that we've kind of did this to ourselves.
Well, you're saying giving away the content.
Many years ago.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is, if this happens, and this is so new, I have not had an opportunity to dig in it, so I am not an expert by any stretch of the imagination on this. But what it does, based on the quick reading I did this morning, is now what happens if Zillow does this, they have to comply with National Association Realtors rules. They have to now comply with CAR's MLS rules, which they really haven't been able to, they were not necessarily required to do.
Well, how can they comply with all the individual association rules? Are they uniform?
I don't understand. Well, I don't understand that.
Okay.
I really don't know how that's going to work.
Because it would then be by individual market almost.
So in order for Keith and Yonna Smith and Vincent Zorn to put an IDX feed on our website, there's an actual there's a broker agreement that we need, or an IDX feed agreement that we needed to sign with CAR. CAR controls its MLS, right? And again, if Quentin's on, if I'm saying anything,
Quentin's watching. Quentin Beckham's watching. You have three CAR presidents watching, and comments coming in on this. So
that was
you saw this coming.
I want to talk.
You saw this coming, Keith. You saw this coming.
Whose idea was this?
This is your idea.
So in order for us to put that on our website, there's a whole agreement process that we needed to go with, and we needed to have an IDX broker and all this stuff. The short version of it is, if I'm using IDX on my website, on our website, or any agent's website, in essence, that's what Zillow is, right? Just a big old website.
Sure.
We have to agree to the terms and conditions of the MLS rules and regulations. Oh, by the way, I believe they also have to comply, because I think they're going to have some sort of licensed real estate agents or brokers or some structure in order to get into this IDX system. They have to comply with our ethical standards, which is pretty stringent, actually. So on one hand of it, you know, look, you and I have talked about Zillow, Amazon, all this crap. I have zero concern about it. I've always had zero concern about it. You know, it's just a big old tool for clients to kind of do some homework. But at the end of the day, it takes a Keith and Yonna Smith.
Yeah, people.
It takes Eloise from Richmond.
Yeah.
You cannot.
Eloise Amendola.
Amendola.
Yeah.
Very pretty name. Oh. You can't manage that. And I'm going to reach down and grab my phone here for a minute, because this is important.
Yeah. And you want me to throw the comments coming to you? Well, I mean, this is actually a pretty good comment. You'll appreciate this. This is from Andre Xavier. He says, I think that Zillow adding their own agents will be like when Expedia came into the market for the travel agents. People thought that travel agents would disappear. But guess what? We did not. We became travel advisors.
That's exactly
And we add more value to our clients than Expedia could ever do.
Sure.
I think the same will happen with real estate agents.
So
I like that take.
I like that take. I'm going to not necessarily push back, but I'm going to take it from a different perspective. And this is not meant to be offensive, right?
Okay.
You know, travel agents are great things. Yonna and I use them all the time. But the closing of a home, or the selling of a home, the marketing of a home, and getting through that whole process.
It's different than 2 weeks in Puerto Rico.
You can't do that with this. It can't be done. You need a trusted advisor. It'll never be done. It'll like this, and never, one should never say never, right? But it's just like this can't put up the trim, a 5-piece crown trim around this room. It can't do it. It takes somebody with skill to manage that. And to me, I just love it because what Zillow and all these things do, it just kind of drives traffic to us.
Yeah.
And then, hey, this is cool. Then we, you know.
What do you think, Christopher Eagle? What do you think, Ray Cadell? Quentin Beckham, we'll get to your comments here. What do you think, Real Estate 3 watching the broadcast? Keller Williams watching the broadcast. Roy Wheeler watching the broadcast.
I really wanted to talk about projection.
Agents from Nest Realty watching the broadcast. Quentin's got a comment for you.
Sure.
Quentin Beckham, the broker from Keller Williams. Data alone is not enough. You need the person that knows the neighborhood and is watching the trends and knows which homeowner owns a lawnmower and maintains their property.
Yeah.
No website can do that for you. Quentin continues, I think the IDX versus RSS versus brokering their own houses is a super complicated discussion. I think the simple version is that all of these mass listing aggregate websites are the newspapers. The agents and homeowners, buyers are the ones actually making the headlines. No matter the print above the fold, they remain just a newspaper, no matter how well done they may be. It is still the agents and their clients that make the headlines.
So, well said.
Yeah?
Much better than I.
You got a butt. Covered.
No, not
no
a
butt.
No, not
okay.
a butt at all. Quite the opposite. I agree with everything he just said.
Okay.
And the but is, I'm just explaining it a little bit differently. The bottom line is, this ain't going to get it done. This will drive Mr. and Mrs. Miller to a listing, right? This will drive maybe Mr. and Mrs. Miller to Keith and Yonna Smith or Quentin Beckham or Christopher Eagle or Eloise or whoever is watching. I can't see who's on the feed, but whoever's watching, this will drive it there, and that's a value, right? But it ain't going to get it done. It's not going to walk. It's not going to sit down. It's not going to sit down at a property owner's table for 2 hours and not talk about real estate, but to talk about, okay, what are you trying to achieve, Mr. and Mrs. Miller, right? It's never going to do that. It's never going to engage that. And one of the things we wanted to get to the sell, we're kind of bouncing around a little bit. One of the seller's truths, this is kind of segue into it a little bit, right? The whole conversation, sometimes Yonna and I do this, particularly people that have been in houses for 30, 40 years. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, prime example, 20 years. And I'll Yonna watching?
Yonna is watching.
Yeah, so
she has comments.
Well, I'm going to, before we do that, let me get myself into trouble.
Okay.
So we're having a debate about our house.
Buy or sell or move or stay?
Correct.
Sell or stay?
Correct.
Okay. And where are we at? Yonna wants to roll. You want to hang out?
Correct.
Okay.
So.
And you want to hang out because?
Well, let me explain.
Feelings, emotions?
No. Yep. Chemistry's working.
Okay.
So again, to go back to this and try to add a bit of a different spin to Quentin's comments on that, right? So Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Jerry Miller is our real estate agent sitting out at the table. Yonna Smith, this is the number one thing that sellers need to do before they do anything, make this decision. Mrs. Smith's, the house that we live at, and I think at one time I actually gave my address out online.
You did.
You just can Google us, you'll find us.
Yeah, it's public,
Mrs.
it's
Smith,
public record. Yeah.
Mrs. Smith, that structure is now a house. Not that she doesn't have emotional connections to it, but Mrs. Smith has made this mental decision to move on. Mrs. Smith, on the other hand, I have not. And this is a home. I have not made this decision to move. Right? So the thing is you Zillow, Trulier, and there's talk of Amazon coming into the game and blah, 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 blah. They're not going to sit down. That app isn't going to sit down at our kitchen table and Jerry offer his expertise, his 30 years, 20 years, 10 years of expertise to help us with that decision. It's not about price. It's about that decision. And then once you hit that decision, then we can start working to it. And Quentin, can wordsmith way better than I probably ever could. But the bottom line is, that's the first thing. We were going to, topic number 3 today was set expectations with these 7 throughs of today's market. The number one item I had on there is you got to make a decision. Zillow ain't going to do that for you. It'll give you some details. It'll give you some data. It'll give you some basic background. But it's not going to invest 2 hours or 3 hours at a coffee table trying to help Mr. and Mrs. Smith or Mr. and Mrs. Miller navigate, which is probably one of the largest and most complicated transactions most people do, right? So there you go. That was my passionate soapbox speech on it.
John Hunt's watching. This is actually coming in from John Hunt here, from Stony Point. I'm enjoying the discussion, gentlemen. Can you ask Keith where he thinks Zillow is trying to go with this in the future?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Crystal ball, it's a behemoth, right? It don't do anything without a reason.
Right.
I don't...
Man, this is more comments are coming in here.
I was afraid of that.
Yeah, you knew this is more comments are
coming. My 7 things.
Okay, should we pass on this?
No.
Should we answer? Or
it's
your call.
No. We'll keep it going a little bit. I just don't want to, I need everybody to understand I have not had a ton of time to digest this. So we're just free-flowing this Batman and Robin style. So
what was your thought of where you think it's going to go?
Yeah, so I don't, at the moment it's in these larger marketplaces, right? So we got to ask the question, what are we talking about? If we're talking about the Zillow brokerage, right? Basically, if they come to Charlottesville, which I seriously doubt that they will, it's just we would just be competing against them like any other brokerage. Brokerage A, brokerage B, brokerage C. Where they're really growing that concept is in these larger metro areas where there's a large, and based on my reading, and again, I don't, I'm just regurgitating what I read this morning, is they tend to go in spaces that there's a lot of houses. So Levittown, Long Island, right? Built after the 40s, after the war.
Yeah.
I can't remember how many tens of thousands of the same house, 900 square feet. So that would be a place that this might work, where there's a lot of consistency, because what they're doing is they're desktop analyzing these to come up with a dollar amount. And then they send in an agent, apparently now an employee, who's an agent, to kind of reaffirm the value on it. But at the end of the day, they're trying to buy something for 50 cents and sell it for $1. In today's market, that's a hard thing to do.
That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah. So this may, who knows, if we ever get back to, oh, God forbid it ever happens, I don't even want to say it, but if we should go back to some other time, maybe this might make a bigger difference. The IDX thing is very interesting. I can't really speak too much to it, but it's just something it's not being reported about. And
why are your antennas up on that?
It's just I got to research more. I got to learn more about this. It's not I think it's a good thing or a bad thing, or have any opinion on it, to be honest with you. It's just an interesting fact, and I have to research it a little bit more, and I have to actually speak to really smart people that may be watching this offline and say, okay, what do you think? Right? And they may be chiming in now.
Comments.
On that. I think my only quick takeaway from that, if this happens, and as I suspect it will, they have to play by our rules, which excites me to a certain degree. If I'm competing against Jerry Miller / Zillow, and you got to play by the same rules,
yes, even playing field
that I have to play with, man, I'm good with it. I'll go up against. If it doesn't work, we kiss each other on the cheek and we move on.
Sure.
Right. Up until now, it really hasn't been fair. So I'm hoping, and again, this is way outside of my knowledge base at the moment. I'm hoping that this IDX move kind of gets a little level field, but what do I know?
More comments. So Keith, Zillow will hire agents at local markets. It will disrupt for sure, but as we mentioned, the agents with knowledge will survive.
Sure.
But you will see a lot of new agents or not so knowledgeable ones. They will disappear. Also consider Rocket Mortgage. They moved a mortgage application online, so this can be done. Quentin adds this. I think everyone has to remember that money is always a priority in a home sale, always. Since it is always a priority, it gains no value by itself. Value comes in when you meet the specific personal needs of the client, the ease they need because the rest of their personal life is in turmoil, the care when dealing with death or divorce,
yeah, sure,
the joy of helping a client make a housing dream become a reality, helping find a contractor, negotiating the right date for the right move for a new job. The list is huge and as varied and personal as the clients themselves. The value comes in the care we provide for the client and all their needs. Websites cannot do that.
That's not going to give you love.
That's right. And let's be honest, more comments come in. This is a hot topic. You are also a Class A contractor. So when you work with the Yes Team Realtors, you get the added value. And I'm going to choose my words carefully here. I'm not saying he's doing a SWOT analysis, but he can offer some perspective from his Class A contracting background.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that. I never really think about it that way. It's just so ingrained into me. But we just recently did a listing presentation, Yonna and I, on a home, and I just instinctively said this, and I didn't really think about it. And I said, look, let me wander through the house, and what happens personally, in 2 or 3 minutes, I can tell you, we got the problem here, we got a problem there. Not a problem, a challenge or whatever. We recently did it on a home, and my eye caught a couple of things, and I said, look, let's go ahead and fix those. And we're going to go ahead and, if we can get to this, some of the items, and number 2 was actually that, this getting your house ready for the market, or the 7 new truths. And one of them is you bring in a trusted advisor. In my case, I just done this long enough, my eye catches things. And
yeah, it's the same thing with you sitting in a restaurant looking for the exits and how you get out of there. It's ingrained in you from your Marine Corps days.
That's right.
I mean, same thing with being a Class A contractor. You can't help it.
I can't help it.
Yeah.
And I got this big mouth and I can't shut it. So
it's what you're good at here. Amanda Smagoni, welcome to the broadcast. Love Rick Spagoni on this program right here. Dude, this is the show, obviously, and you totally said this was going to happen. Yeah. Real Estate 3 is chiming in. Christopher Eagle.
Hey, Christopher.
Are you watching from the RE3 office? Christopher, let us know. What are your colleagues saying? He has this to say. Maybe it works for a very, very small percentage of people. We've been talking and thinking about this as well.
Yeah.
But I agree with Keith. People need a trusted advisor to do a transaction. I always heard the question when I first got into the industry, would you decide to perform your own surgery?
Oh.
No, you would go to a trusted doctor. Just like you would get a trusted realtor to help with your biggest transaction of your life. Well said, Christopher Eagle. What are your colleagues saying there, Christopher Eagle?
So to play off of that, so I do some consulting.
You do surgery as well.
No, I do not.
You stayed at a Holiday Inn. And what's the commercial? But I did stay at a Holiday Inn. Was it a Motel 6?
No. Somebody will chime in.
We'll leave the light on for you?
No, that's...
Super 8.
You're mixing them together.
What was the hotel where you can stay in the night before? Go ahead. I'll see if I can figure that out.
So it brought up a story or a true situation. I do some consulting work, and I'm helping literally a brain surgeon get out of a real estate deal in a different part of the state.
Wow.
Anyway, I'll leave some of my personal comments out of it. But at the end, and this guy is a well-renowned freaking brain surgeon, and he's trying to do development. He's got himself into trouble, and he needs some expertise to get out of it, and I'm trying to help him get out of it and navigate it, which we are, actually, thank God. It's going to cost him, but thank God. So we're having a conversation with him, and he goes, I'm a brain surgeon. I should have been able to handle this. I should have been able to handle this. And I went, whoa. Time out, Doc. Let me ask you a question. Do you want me inside your brain with a scalpel? He goes, hell no. I said, well, then why don't you you should have hired me from the beginning, and I would have kept you out of it. So, this is what I do well. You do what you do well.
And what did he say when you said that?
He goes, yeah, I know. After I told him how much dollars it was going to cost him to clear this off of his books, he goes, yeah, I probably should have stayed out of this and you stay out of your world. I said, so you stay out, I'll agree to stay out of brain surgery. You agree to stay out of development, and let's fix this and move on.
Holiday Inn Express is the hotel. Thank you for that, Christopher.
Thanks, Christopher, for the feedback. And everybody is saying this. everybody, if you read through the comments, everybody's like freaking out about this, and you shouldn't, right? You know what? Do what you do well, and just make it, Quentin's kind of just articulated it perfectly. Just do what you do. This is not going to take this away, and I'm really curious how this IDX thing's coming. Not the brokerage thing. There's no way that phone is going to take business away from Keith and Yonna Smith or any Christopher Eagle or anybody that's on that thing. It's never going to happen. Ever going to happen. It'll be different, but it's never going to take it away because that phone or that app isn't going to sit down for 2 hours and navigate the personal part of a sale before you make it happen.
Got folks from the Marjorie Adams team watching the broadcast as we speak. You covered this well, Keith.
Yeah,
on the fly.
Yeah, man. I told you when we walked in. I said, man,
this is going to come up.
I think this is going to come up, and I am not dutifully prepared for it like I normally am.
You handled it well.
Well.
So we should get to what you want to talk about.
Really? Yeah. What do you think? Huh?
I think we should.
What do you think, Robin? Huh?
I think we should.
What time is it, by the way?
We got plenty of time for you, Keith.
Okay. So if anybody else has any comments on it, just chime in or something that you feel it is whatever. I'm good with it. We'll just give it a shot and kind of move on. But what I really wanted to get into before we got into that was if you do slide number 2.
Wow, there are more comments.
Yeah.
Do you want the comments or no?
Well, while you're asking the comments, I'm going to make an executive.
There's a few comments, not just one or two.
I'm sure.
Okay.
So while you go ahead and read a comment, I'm going to get Alfred, a.k.a. Judah, to put slide number 2 because it is kind of important to talk about what the experts are predicting, where the price projection of home
Another comment just came in.
Oh, it's okay.
Another comment.
I think you're fooling me.
No, I can tell you.
Yeah.
You know the people who are saying it.
That's a scary thought. So while you're reading, thank you very much. So what we're talking about is what I wanted to talk about was the projections on home pricing over the next 12. It's not what I'm saying.
I'll get that up for you too.
It's what the experts are saying, and you could take a look at it. Even our friend Zillow that we've been talking about, they're projecting this is nationwide, of course. Thank you guys. A 4.8% increase. The only one on the low side is CoreLogic. I don't quite understand why that is. I didn't get a chance to dig too much into it. But, at the end of the day, everybody's looking at somewhere between a 4, 3 to 5. I know.
That is humongous.
Which is that now?
This is projections. Yeah. This is increase.
This is increase.
Year over year.
Yeah. This isn't me saying this or you.
Well, I know.
These are pretty smart fellas.
And they're all in the same ballpark, so you got to think.
Yeah. So I think the CoreLogic is a bit of the outlier.
That's the anomaly.
I needed to include that in this graph.
So if we went conservative, maybe we call it 4 even and still.
Yeah. And you'll find out if you trace it out backwards. A healthy year over year is somewhere in the 3 to 6% range. Right? We talked about this before. When things were nuts prior to 2008, they were double digits. They were 10, 15%. And that's when practitioners, that's where folks like who's watching that and Yonna and I start getting real nervous because that's just unsustainable and unhealthy.
Right.
So interest rates are like, nobody's predicting interest rates to go up too much.
Right. For a while.
Correct, yeah. So, when we're looking at the 4%-ish range, now's the time to buy. And they're, hold on a second here. I thought I had another slide. I may be wrong. Nope, I forgot to add this other slide, but I wanted to show what the difference was year over year on a typical house. So in other words, if you're buying a $250,000 house or $350,000 house where the interest rate was a year previously to today, you can actually buy more house.
Sure.
Right. So
and Americans love to do that.
Yeah, and I thought I had a slide on that, but I missed it.
So a 4% increase in a $250,000 house, quick math, that's 10%. Yeah. That's $10,000. Yeah. $10,000, not 10%, $10K.
Yeah.
I mean,
buy a house.
Yeah.
Sell a house.
I mean,
time to do it.
I mean, think about it. Yeah. I mean, think about it. $500,000. We're talking $20,000 on $500K.
So clearly, those really smart people, and and NAR in particular, which I'm a huge fan of because their statistical prowess is unparalleled.
Yeah.
Right. When they're calling for a 4.4,
you listen.
You listen. Right. Right. And they're not BS in that number at all. So I may be wrong. We may have a bit of a dip with this presidential election coming up.
Well, you didn't think it would. Right?
Well, no. I'm talking about like October, November. Okay. You might see a little bit of a cooling off.
I mean, the market, the stock market, and what I'm following, what Judah's following, I mean, it's certainly been a volatile,
Yeah, well,
the first debates tonight.
Yeah. This
is different from Wall Street. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not the same.
100%. Ike Allen, not to totally disagree with Keith and some of the other agents, but what they are describing as needing a trusted advisor to do a real estate transaction is true for a large percentage of things in business today.
Sure. No disagreement from me.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many times that people come in, small business owners, we're an advertising agency, and they're like, we're going to try building the website on our own. We're going to go through GoDaddy or Square. And they get to the 5th inning, throw their hands in the air, and then come to me with this pile of like...
crap.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're like, you can use this, right, to keep the price 40% lower that you initially were going to... I'm like,
I'm charging you 40% more.
It would take, and this is people, it's kind of, it does not seem, you've pointed this out with remodeling.
Yeah, sure.
It would take us more time to go through the pile of crap and figure it out to start the project from scratch.
That's exactly right.
Just like you said with remodeling.
That's exactly right.
But that's a tough thing to explain.
Well...
I mean, unless you just say, you brought me a pile of crap. I can't use this.
Well, you wouldn't do that, of
course.
No,
I don't do that. I don't do that.
But
I'm nice.
And who was the gentleman?
Ike Allen.
Hey, Ike.
And Ike is, what business are you in, Ike? I should know that. Ike comments on the show all the time.
Well, he's spot on, and I'm going to play off of that for a minute here. But to go back to how do you explain this, Keith Smith shows up and goes, hey, blah, 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 fix my website.
Yeah.
A trusted advisor, somebody who is professional, caring, trustworthy, right? You're going to figure out a way to explain that to me so I understand it. Then I go, geez, you're right. Here's the money.
Sure.
But to play off of that, Mr. Allen's comment, so I actually talked about this on the little blip that you gave me yesterday on the show. Thank you very much for doing that.
Of course.
It's publicly out there since media was at the last regional housing thing, but we are finalizing a merger between Thomas Jefferson Land Trust and Piedmont Housing, formerly the Piedmont Housing Alliance. They've changed their name to that. And to go to this trusted advisor, we've been working at this for many, many, many months. And we have some very trusted advisors at the table to help us navigate this and help us produce this, because ultimately what we're trying to do, we meaning the Land Trust as somebody who chairs that organization, we're trying to grow our capacity. We're trying to create relationships so we can grow capacity as far as funding goes and human resources, which the Land Trust currently doesn't have. My point I'm trying to make is it's really no different than real estate. Right? It's really no different than what we're talking about in trusted advisor. And I'll tell you, Mr. Allen, you're spot on. Anything with business, we talk about this all the time. Business is the one of two things, right? You're either acting transactionally, which is what Zillow is doing, or you're acting relationally, which is what Mr. Allen's talking about. Right, so we are sitting around with the table trying to negotiate. Uh-oh, he's smiling.
Well, I mean, he's now offered the counter argument. Are you ready for the counter argument here?
I don't know. What time is it? I gotta go.
This was a show. This could be two shows.
Yeah.
You now have agents from Northern Virginia, Richmond, across Central Virginia, and in Charlotte, North Carolina, watching today's broadcast.
Thank you, guys. By the way,
Ike says this. Ike Allen, and I'm tagging you on these so you can respond if you choose.
Sure.
Now you're going to have 40 notifications, maybe 44 when you respond on this.
So, you know how to shut this off.
Yeah,
right?
okay. Buyers, this is from Mike, he continues,
sure.
buyers, especially the new generation ones that are coming up, they're comfortable doing things in a new and different way online. Just think of Carvana. I own stock in Carvana. That stock's doing well. Everyone said no one would buy a car unseen. They need to kick the tires, test drive, but Carvana is huge and growing success. 10 years from now, I would bet the real estate industry will be far different than this.
Look, everything changes, right? Just look at the history of real estate to start with. There was a day.
When it was a book.
They had books.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a similar path to what happened with newspapers, although you guys are doing a better job of getting ahead of it.
Yeah.
So newspapers had a book.
Yeah.
It was the newspaper.
Sure.
And then newspapers said, you know what, with this book, I'm going to give this book to our readers at no charge for free online. That's what newspapers did. And then the readers started saying, forget this print book, I'm just going to go to the website and access it for free. And now they're having a difficult time monetizing the content because people have been trained to get it for free online.
So one thing I know for sure, from 30-something plus years of doing this and nearly 6 decades of being on this earth, it has always changed. It's going to change. We're sitting here. Just think about what we're doing right now.
Yeah,
Have we been able to do this 10 years ago?
No, absolutely not.
Will we be able to
get
these insane numbers that you text me to do this? Which I'm flattered, and
I mean, you've got folks in 3 states watching you talk about real estate in Central Virginia. Think about that.
I can't because my head explodes. So we had a great interview with James King.
Yeah. Yeah, and tell him what happened. Tell you what happened.
So James King and I are Marines.
Yeah.
So I know change is going to happen. But what we do is improvise. And how do you improvise? You educate. You learn. You read. You understand. And overcome. Excuse me. Implement, adapt, and overcome. Overcome and adapt. Excuse me. Got that backwards. James will now yell at me. I'll have to pay double for my wine when I go out there. But you improvise, adapt, and overcome. Right? I had to say that off my tongue because otherwise, if you think about it, it slowed me down a little bit. But that's what you do. Things are going to change, guys. It's going to change. How you adapt to it is going to change. Look, what other industries? Look, the restaurant industry right now. I mean,
Barbara just made a point. The disconnection of people and their jobs is a very, very sad thing.
Oh, absolutely.
And she's talking about, I don't want to assume here, but I would imagine she's talking about how disruptive the internet could be. I think that's what, do you agree that's what you think she's talking about?
I agree. Yeah. But while I will, not that I would ever in a million years disagree with Barbara, ever, because I just respect the heck out of her too much to do that, I'll turn it a little bit differently. I can tell you from a practitioner's perspective, and we're very fortunate, a very large percentage of our sales are millennials. And I can look you in the face and tell you every single one of them, of almost 40 for this year, every single one of them started everything on this. But at some point, and we're going to bring some of them
James King is watching.
Well, hey, James, how you doing, Marine?
Got a message for Keith, James King?
Yeah. Get your shit together, Marine.
Judah laughed at that. Yeah. That means
I know exactly what he's thinking. Dude.
James is chuckling at King family right now.
Yeah. Marine, get your trash together.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. That was only a staff sergeant. He was a captain, I think, or something. I'll have to call him sir. So, but my point is, every one of these, and we're going to bring, I think this sparked an idea. We're going to call in some of our millennial buyers that are willing to go on camera.
That's a great idea.
That, and talk about the process. And this little shiny object, right? This little shiny thing is a great thing to work on. But I will tell you, every single one of them, and we get these phone calls, put this thing down and go, oh my God, I need some help.
Right.
I need a trusted advisor. Guide us through this. And we talked about this a couple of times, right? When you follow a story, right? Read a story. What is the most important figure in a story? So I'm going to tell you, you and I have had this discussion before, but think about Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Right? So of all the characters in the Lord of the Rings, Who, and you chime in on this, Judah, please, if you would like. Yeah. Who is the most pivotal figure?
Judah Cam.
Who is the most pivotal figure in that story?
Judah Cam.
Judah.
All right.
You know the answer to this.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. He's going to get this right.
So, so in Lord of the Rings, right? Mm-hmm. Is it Frodo? Right? Is it Saruman? Right? Is it the evil? Is it the good? Is it which character in that story is the most important character in that story?
I got to go with Sam Gamgee.
Nope.
No? Oh.
So think about it. Who guided you through the story? Who guided them through this process?
I'm talking about Gandalf.
Gandalf. So the most, and I equate this to what we do for a living, right? Or other businesses for that matter, to quote Mr. Allen. It really doesn't matter. It's what you do. It's what Judah does, right? It's what Liza does over there. When
Liza's tail got actually on the Judah Cam right there. That was awesome. I just saw it.
Yeah, she just wants bones from me. Liza just, she just only wants one thing from me. I'm starting to think she doesn't love me. She just wants the bones. But the guide, right? The guide is the person that's going to help you through the story, help you through this. And this process is a story. And, we'll find out 10 or 15 years from now when I'm sitting on a beach in a retirement home somewhere.
No, you'd be on a beach.
Right? Retirement home somewhere, and we'll find out. But I truly, in my heart and soul, believe you will never be able to take the trusted advisor out of it. Now, our role may change, right? And our role may be different, and this old dog needs to learn new tricks and adapt to it. And in order to survive, that's what you're going to have to do, right? And those who do not adapt will not survive, will not be in the business any longer. But, unless there's some huge changes in the way loans are done, the way state law is written, the way federal law is written, how is that? We talked about this when we brought Lisa Herndon on, which, by the way, kudos to Lisa Herndon. She is on a diversity thing for Virginia Realtors, our little neck of the woods, as a rock star on that. So shout out to her, freaking hero, one of my heroes in my life. But at the end of the day, this isn't going to do it. So there you go.
So Barbara talks about the value of human connection.
Sure.
I referred clients to guest houses and stay Charlottesville yesterday rather than going online to VRBO. It's all about personalized service. Quentin has a comment to Ike Allen. Quentin Beckham, the broker at Keller Williams, responding to Ike Allen. Carvana is doing well, and even more so in our current restrictions. He's talking about COVID-19. Nevertheless, Carvana has rarely made an actual profit on their books and still holds less than 1% of the used car market. And note, they are specific to the used car market. That's their business. Andre, COVID-19 has proven to us that anything is possible. We just need to be open to change. The brokerage from Richmond says we've watched from start to finish, thoroughly educational today, gentlemen.
Thank you. If I next time I'm in Richmond, I'll reach out.
You should
take you out to Pearlie's, get a little bit of matzo ball soup.
He loves Pearlie's.
Oh, I love Pearlie's.
Richmond Realtors, if you're watching, spoil the distinguished gentleman with gift cards to Pearlie's.
Or even better, invite me to come join you.
Richmond Realtors, invite the distinguished gentleman to Pearlie's for lunch. Lisa Herndon, hello. Yonna Smith, thank you for tagging her.
Lisa, congratulations. You're a hero.
Another comment, whether home sales or marketing websites or car purchasing, there are always a subset that can do those things on their own very well. It's just not true for the majority of consumers. I would never want to force anyone to use a service of mine or discourage someone from using their money and property how they choose. We counsel and not control. I want to offer value that attracts.
That's exactly right. So, 7 things. 7 truths. We talked about, is the house, number 1, have you made a decision, is it a house or a home yet? Right? Mrs. Smith decided a house, Keith still at a home. The speed of a sale depends on how strategic you want to be, right? And what I mean by that is that, you know, you bring in a trusted advisor. We're talking about the Zillow. We're talking about this apps. You bring in a Lisa Herndon, right? Or you bring in Christopher Eagle or whoever, Ray Cadell, whoever's watching right now, and they're going to look in your house. I just happen to have a different set of skill sets because of my experience, but they're going to bring in, these folks are rock stars. These folks are trusted advisors. They will talk to Mr. and Mrs. Miller and say, let's go stick our head in the crawl space. Looks like you might want to call somebody, not that I'm an expert, but you might want to call somebody and look at that before you put the house on the market. So get through all that fun stuff. Home inspection, you know, kind of have somebody look at the house, right? If your roof has moss growing on it, and get somebody in to clean it because it's going to get caught at home inspection.
Right.
So, you know, these things will speed up the sale. And what I mean by sale, that means not necessarily the contract, but the closing, right? Huge. Sanitize your house. I mean, enough said. It's COVID-19. You know, make sure it's clean and sanitized. A real estate agent's going to help you. Again, is Zillow going to do that for you? No. Zillow's not going to do that for you.
No.
Lisa Herndon, Keith Smith, Yonna Smith, whoever's watching that is going to pick up our trusted advisors and say, okay, this is what we're going to do after each showing, and bring somebody in to do that.
Let's give some love. Well, first, Andy Zeman, Waterstone Mortgage, watching the program.
Hey, Andy.
Charlottesville Settlement Company, someone in that office watching the program. They're
Thanks,
a fantastic
guys.
sponsor of the program.
They are.
MarieBette, Scott Morris, and Pearl Certification, we give some love today. Fantastic businesses. Chris Henry, Dairy Market, killing it. This show blew up. I mean, it really...
And we talked about it in our 22-second...
You had a hunch this was going to happen.
Yeah.
And
maybe I'll get to the rest of the sevens on Friday's show. But
I'm
trying like heck to get it out.
Ike, I see that comment coming in. I appreciate you responding to the show. I appreciate all the agents that help contribute to this program as well. We were hoping for an interactive discussion, and we got it. Anything you want to offer, my friend?
What does Ike have to say?
He says, my point is that the numbers of people that will be comfortable handling their own real estate transactions is and will continue to grow. The percentages today are not that important long term. There's some truth to that, Ike.
Well, that goes back to, you know, one thing that I've learned for sure, change is inevitable.
Sure.
And it's how we do what we're doing now and how Ike does it and everybody else that's watching it, that we learn, we adapt, we improvise, we adapt, we overcome. We use the tools that are presented to us to help our clients. At the end of the day, that's just a tool.
Well said.
That's all it is a tool.
Yeah, the Yes Team Realtors. Yonna says business is humming.
Yeah, you know, it's humming, right? It's
best year in company history?
For the Yes Team, absolutely, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm humbled by it, to be honest with you.
The Yes Team Realtors, trusted advisors in the game. How long you been in the business?
Long enough to get a lot of gray hair.
30?
We've been in the real estate environment since 1987. So the first couple of decades, we bought and sold our own stuff.
Wow.
So
33 years.
Yeah. So we bought and sold our own stuff, which kind of changes the licensing thing. I think I've been licensed for 10 plus. Yeah, I can't remember, but we've been buying and selling
for 33 years.
Roughly, yeah, sure.
I love it. Great show today.
Yeah, and maybe Friday I'll get to my other four.
You did predict this was going to happen.
Yeah, I know.
You predicted this was going to happen. All right, trusted advisors in the game. Keith and Yonna Smith, the Yes Team Realtors. You see what he's about.
Oh my God, it's 11:30.
I know. All right, first time
sorry,
we look and
man.
it's 11. No problem. First time I looked, it was like 11:23.
Sorry about that.
That means you're having fun.
You know,
we forget the cameras are here.
I always do.
Yeah.
It takes me, you know, truth be told, it takes me about 5-ish, and you know this, of our chemistry. It takes me about 5 or 10 minutes to get to my comfort place.
Yeah, I think the best, and you know, all the shows I think we do are nuanced and have their own life.
Sure.
Their own living, breathing thing. It's a show. It's live. We literally, a lot of times, do not know what to expect when we're doing a show. For example, today we're not streaming to Instagram Live. And that was a bummer for us, but the show had to go on. So we said, we won't stream to Instagram Live because we want to make sure we get the content out to Facebook.
Well,
we had an
you have
issue
to
come
tell
up.
them why.
We had an issue come up. We'll just leave it at that. We had an issue come up. The distinguished gentleman may or may not have been on the Wi-Fi connection from his house in Palmyra or at Lake Monticello as opposed to the I Love CVille Network. That's a topic for another day. But I guess where I'm going at, I think often some of our best shows, and you're hearing it. I mean, Andre Xavier, great show, thank you. The comments coming in from other show, fantastic. A lot of times the best shows are the ones we're doing where we're just adapting to each other, seeing what's out there and doing this. Have you noticed that?
You know, I love it. I just,
You've noticed that, right?
The premise of the show almost 2 years ago was...
2 dudes over a cup of coffee.
That's it.
And Andre's ABC in you right now. Always be closing. Andre's got a hard sell for you. You ready for Andre's hard sell?
Oh.
As someone who's ABC in you, he's ABC in now you. He goes, and Keith Smith, you better call me for your next vacation and you will see the difference between a travel advisor and a travel agent, damn it. And he did it with a smiley face.
Xavier, I apologize most deeply. We shall call you.
I don't think he's upset with you.
No. I know he's teasing.
He's teasing.
Xavier and I had a couple of conversations.
Andre Xavier.
Yeah.
Andre Xavier.
You know, I've always come to the point, if you're not busting my chops or teasing me, that means you don't like me.
Right. We like to bust balls here on the show.
We do. We're good at it.
We are good at it.
Hey, so thank you, everybody.
Yeah, we should roll.
We gotta go.
He's Keith. I'm Jerry. That's Judah. This is Real Talk. It's back on air Friday at 10:15. Should I ask what's planned?
I have no idea.
Okay, Friday at 10:15 on the I Love CVille Network. Keith Smith, Jerry Miller, Judah Wickower. Thank you for joining us.
I have a feeling my phone's going to blow up. It may set a subject for...
Dude, wait till you see your notifications on Facebook.
Yeah, great.
You guys have a good one.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Seriously, I bet you have like 60-something.
I'm keeping it upside down.